Hello, everybody, and welcome to this ValuesJam deep dive conversation into the topic of kindness ahead of World Kindness Day next week. Now, this is a very special event because we've got some fantastic people here who practice in the area of kindness, and I'm going to ask a couple of them to introduce the topic to us before I explain the way in which we're going to explore the subject itself. Now, Nirmala, you are going to be surprised for me to say this, but Tristika is not very well today. And so I wonder if you might begin by just sharing what the World Kindness Movement does and your association with it, please.
Thank you, Alan. It's a joy to be here today. And so I was the immediate past president of the World Kindness Movement, which started in 1997. And it started in Japan. And Dr. Mori had invited people from across the world who believed in kindness to respond. And there were most people at that time who responded to his call for kindness in 97, not surprisingly, were educators. And when Dr. Mori told them that kindness is something that the world desperately needs, they came together and signed a declaration in September 20th, 97, saying that we need a kinder world and we commit to that. And with that very simple two-line declaration, the World Kindness Movement was formed. And whoever belonged, it's still a voluntary body. It's 25 years. And so that gives me hope that, we go on. And there's so many. I'm waiting to hear Margaret speak and the others. But today, Dr. Tristika leads it from the US, and there's Stephen Oke, who is the present president, who is in Nigeria. And for me personally, kindness is a bridge. Kindness connects. These two words have made kindness extremely important and practical. So it's not just a feel-good word. It really makes a difference to my life, and I'm sure to the lives of others. And thank you, Alan, for having me here today, and for the World Kindness Day, which was again born because of the World Kindness Movement, who decided to start a day to honor kindness. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Nirmala. And next, a very good friend, a very good virtual friend of mine, Jenny Haas, who also operates and practices in the kindness space. Jenny, can I invite you to say a few words about the topic from your point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Alan. And so good to be here with you all. When Alan asked me to just share some thoughts on kindness, I knew that I could speak all day on it. So I thought I don't have all day to speak on it. So I just made a couple of notes I want to share with you. Alan mentioned that I am here in the US, in Utah. And my mission is to help share a compelling vision for creating a legacy of kindness. And we're all creating a legacy of some sort, right? And how powerful to have that be a legacy of kindness. And I believe that if we deepen our practice of kindness, it's going to bring more joy and a sense of abundance into our lives and into the lives of others. And just the world in general. It's such an important value, I think. And with all that's happening in the world right now, it can be a really dark and scary place. I can't imagine a time in our history when more kindness has been needed than it is right now. So if we are practicing self-kindness and kindness to others and kindness to the planet, just imagine the difference that can make. I believe that even a small act of kindness can generate an energy that ripples out in ways unimagined.
So weird.
And they also can, transcend generations besides changing current lives, but goes to unknown people and unknown generations, that kindness. If you know me, you know that I love quotes and I collect quotes. And it's such a wonderful way to say something powerful in just a few short words. And one of the quotes that I love is from James Matthew Barry, who said, "Those who bring sunshine to the lives of others cannot keep it from themselves." So just think about that. It's the boomerang and the ripple effect of kindness. I see kindness as a superpower, and it is something that lifts others, and not only so kindness can, if you do an act of kindness, it lifts you up. It lifts up the person that you're doing the kind act for. And what's even more remarkable to me is you don't even, you can just witness an act of kindness and have some of those wonderful benefits. And one of those things, think about the different things that kindness does as far as our health and our, improves our health, our body and mind. And thinking about how it stimulates the production of serotonin, and it produces more oxytocin. And so these are things that make us feel better, that lift us up, that bond us together. It also helps to produce less cortisol in our bodies, and that's the stress hormone. And so people who are actively practicing kindness, it helps to reduce their aging. And as I've shared with several of you before, I recently had a pretty big birthday, really big birthday. And so I really appreciate that, especially because it's like amp up my kindness, maybe look a little bit younger and feel younger too. One last thought I want to share with you, another quote, and it's from Amelia Earhart. I love this one too. And it says, "A single act of kindness throws out roots in all directions." So just think about that, a single act. So let's scatter seeds of kindness on World Kindness Day and every day. And just imagine what creating a legacy of kindness can mean for our lives, ourselves, our families, our communities, our countries, and our world. So glad to be here with all of you. And I just am looking forward to the next hour, 15 minutes together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Ellen, if I may,
Sure.
Jenny, you may be the place where we need to send all of Margaret's quote books. She has been collecting quotes for decades, many about kindness, many about other things. And here they are, and she has a box of them. So maybe one day you would be the happy recipient of all of them.
I don't know what to do with those. No one person would be so obsessed with collecting things about kindness, but it got to be an obsession with me, and I'd like to share that. And then it's mixed in with other things too, so you get a sort of a picture of how scattered I can be. But I always want to be kind.
Okay.
Oh,
We're
I
going
would
big
love
again.
that. I looked, and if there's any that I have that you haven't found yet, I just discovered another one a couple of days ago I hadn't seen. I would be happy to share.
We have dozens of journals, quotes. Okay, we're going on mute
What a
again.
delight.
No, this is brilliant, because within like 13 minutes, I think we've hatched a book of kindness quotes that's going to be all over the world somehow, endorsed by the World Kindness Movement and just everywhere as a result of this conversation. So what a fantastic start. And Jenny, you mentioned your 40th birthday. Sorry,
Yes.
I shouldn't have mentioned the year, should I? And I just want to call on somebody else that looks young for their years. Alan Zimmerman, you're the reason we're all here today. And I'm wondering if between us we can cobble together the story behind it. Do you remember where it all started?
Yes, Margaret Peterson heard me speak probably 40 some years ago at a hospital where she was working in social services. She was so impressed with the presentation, she asked me if I had that recorded. I did. It was cassette tapes back then. She got a copy of the cassette tape, and I didn't see Margaret again for maybe 30 years. We crossed paths, and she told me she listened to the tape so many times till she memorized it word for word and based her life's future career or actions on that. And then around age 92, she calls me and said she wanted to come to my 2-day program called Journey to the Extraordinary. I remembered her. She stood out in my mind. And I cautioned, I said, well, this is a 16-hour class. It's very intensive. Are you sure you're up to that? Oh, yeah, no problem. So Phoebe, her daughter, got her on the plane in Louisville, Kentucky, sent her to Chicago. One of my employees picked her up at the airport, brought her to the workshop. She was there furiously in the front row taking notes the entire 16 hours, interacting with all the people, then came back to the class again around age 98, so I need a refresher. And from that class, between those classes, she formed a purpose of changing the world through kindness and started a kindness movement in Minnesota, in a small town that spread across towns, counties, and in some ways nationally. So Margaret's been one of my heroes for 45 years. I love the woman and what she's done.
Thank you, Alan. And then if we fast forward to January 2023, you and I had a values jam, right?
Yes, we did. And the card kindness came up.
That's right. And after that session, Alan said, I think there's somebody I'd like to introduce you to. And it just occurred to me that, and this was in January, it occurred to me that this event happening today would be perfect for Margaret to join us as a special guest, which through the help of Alan and Phoebe and Margaret and some other people, we've made it happen. And so that's just a little bit of background as to why we're here. And what we're going to do now is hear from Margaret via a video that she's made. And the reason that she's made this is because she wanted to, we were talking about acting just now, she wanted to make sure that she put on a good performance. And also, I've been informed that Margaret can't hear too well, and so that might have been limiting as well. So we thought the best way around this was to create a video. It's only around about 6 minutes long, so I'm going to share my screen, and I hope you will enjoy it. So, can you just confirm you can see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, can see the screen.
Great.
Hello, everyone. I am Margaret Peterson, coming to you from Minnesota, USA. I am so privileged to be with you at age 102, representing a group who started a Be Kind movement here 5 years ago. We have nurtured it through the pandemic and are now celebrating, and how much joy it has brought to us and our community. I hope you are asking, what prompted you to start the kindness group? What are you doing? And why? And what might I learn from you to take to my company or village or group? Showing kindness to one another is not new. The Greek storyteller Aesop, about 600 BCE, wrote, "No act of kindness, however small, is ever wasted." Thinkers and philosophies of many cultures throughout the ages have shared the value of kindness. Whatever prompts someone to actively and consciously be kind. In our case, it was a small group talking about the negative sentiment in our country, even asking, what could we do? And then one woman bravely said, well, why don't we do something? And that was enough to get us going, a tipping point. We started with projects to draw attention to being kind and to do acts of kindness or receive acts of kindness. One of the most unusual projects was asking the community to finger knit a mile-long kindness chain, long enough to surround the hundreds of students and citizens in the school athletic center. And then with a microphone, I taught them these 7 action words. Be kind. Just try it. I will. I repeat. Be kind. Just try it. I will. Even today, young children will run up to me in the street and shout these words. I just love it. Our Be Kind group brought a public garden back to life, where the sign now says, Grow Kindness. Last year, we delivered to every single address in the county a bag of marigold seeds to plant, so that the colorful flowers would be a daily reminder to us of kindness. This year, we are working on an effort to be kind to Mother Police. Can you now sense what we are doing? We are demonstrating acts of kindness, and we are marketing a behavior, kindness, that makes a change in how we humans interact with each other. I hope you have joined us today to be inspired to grow more kindness in your community and in our troubled world. Let this day be a catalyst to be kinder to each other, because kindness is powerful. The projects I've shared today make sense for the community I live in and have brought us a lot of happiness. I know that you can come up with actions that can make an impact in your communities. And maybe you will create your own action words. Then the children in your community will run up to you and say it. As I close, I invite you to say our action words with me now, and I'll remind you of the words. Be kind. Just try it. I will. Here goes. Be kind. Just try it. I will.
I will.
Yes, Mary. Mary, you raised your hand.
I'm sorry, that was in error.
Okay.
Thanks, Margaret. That was beautiful.
Now, we're not together, but if we were together, I think this would happen. So would you mind all coming off mute so that we can give Margaret a big round of applause?
Applauding you. They're applauding you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
No, that was wonderful. Now, I'm just thinking that people might want to ask Margaret some questions. So what I'm thinking is, during our dialogue around kindness, if people would like to use the chat to Margaret Pedersen, then Phoebe will see those questions and be able to reply. And we'll be able to do that simultaneously with the conversation that we're going to have. So please feel free to do that. Now it's down to business. And the dialogue style that we're going to use today was actually created by a man called David Bohm. David Bohm was an astrophysicist in his younger days, but as he got older, he became interested in philosophy. And he created this style of dialogue that we're going to use now. And in order to familiarize you with it, I'm going to hopefully share a few slides, okay? And I'll explain how we're going to go about the conversation. So here is our ValuesJam opening slide. And the second slide is just a little bit of information about the game. So this was inspired by the concept of a music jam. You know, a music jam, you turn up with what you've got, you're not given any guidance, there's no expectation, and you just start. Then, if somebody stumbles, nobody calls a halt to proceedings and conducts an inquisition. You just embrace what has happened and go with it. And through ValuesJam and this game, in many different ways, we're looking to create harmony all over the world by inspiring 1 million values-led conversations. So everybody here tonight is part of that. Now, in terms of the way the Bohm dialogue works, what I'd like us to do is take in turns to read these statements from top left and then across to the right, and then start on the next line down. I'll try and give some order to it so that we don't stumble over each other. So what I'd like to do is invite Nirmala and then Alan and then Jenny and then Hedin to give us a start. Then we'll see where we go from there. So just take in turns to read one statement and we'll see how we go.
So we shape our judgments and assumptions with the spirit of being in the same band. We treat people as they would like to be treated.
Alan.
In a values jam, everybody wins. No one likes a lead guitarist hogging the stage for too long.
Jenny and then Hedin.
Opinion that an opinion is an assumption. It is important to see that different opinions that you have are the result of past thought.
Be curious for new insights and reflections to help us learn and grow.
And then if we could go Phoebe, Peter Williams, and Dr. Sharon.
Be aware of the subtle fear and pleasure sensations that block our ability to listen freely.
Be non-judgmental.
We test traditional thinking and perceptions.
And then if we go Zoom user, whoever you are, followed by Barbara Moore and Vicky Alseca. Okay, so maybe Zoom user's not there. Barbara Moore and then Vicky Alseca, please.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Barbara.
I can't read the screen. I'm sorry.
That's okay. let me read one for you. We
Okay.
practice. Oh, go on.
I can't hear anything.
Okay, Barbara, if you are able to read the screen and want to join in a little while, we'll ask some other people to share in the meantime. So Vicky, and then Karen, and then it says Charissa. So Vicky, Karen, Charissa.
Hi, this is Vicky Margaret. Nice to see you. You know, I'm the ice cream girl, so I'm picking this one. It isn't necessary that everybody be convinced to have the same view. We value differences over vanilla, except in ice cream.
Thank you. And Karen Wallum. And if not, Charissa.
Hi, I'm Carissa. I'm Margaret's granddaughter. Hi, Grandma. I'm in the car, so I can't read as well.
Right.
I'm listening.
Okay. Fair enough. And who else hasn't had a go yet? So feel free to pick one.
This is Rana, and I will pick, we co-create something new together.
Fantastic. And then I'm going to choose listen, listen, listen to the rhythm developing. And I just want to add a note onto that. In a normal conversation, we spend a lot of our time wanting to make space for us to speak. That's not necessary in a values jam. So please feel comfortable listening. And if you don't want to make a contribution, don't feel the pressure that you have to. Silence is fine, and you listening is fine. Now we'll go around one more time, so let's just take it freestyle. Anybody want to take any of the other remaining phrases that we haven't covered yet? Jenny, have another one.
I'm not entirely.
Go ahead.
Not entirely certain. Not entirely certain. I didn't track everything, so I'm gonna pass and I'm gonna listen.
Okay. So Alan, was that your voice I heard?
Yes. Be curious for new insights and reflections to help us learn and grow.
Be relaxed. And then the final one I just want to emphasize is the one we detach the words from the person. And the way that this was described to me, this process was, imagine us now if we were together, sitting in a circle of chairs with no table in between us. And think of yourself as saying something, but as you're saying it, imagine that you're putting it into the center of the circle. You're not directing what you're saying to anybody in particular, it's into the center of the circle. And equally, when you hear somebody make a contribution, detach it from them. It's not from that person, it just sits in the center of our circle. Now, another thing is that silence is absolutely fine. And if when we start, there is a silent period of, it could be more than a minute actually, that is absolutely normal. Don't feel pressure to fill the silence. When you first hear the question that I'm going to ask us to explore, don't feel the need to respond immediately. If you feel emotions coming through yourself, then be curious about them. Ask yourself why you think those emotions are coming for you when you've heard that question. And similarly, when you're hearing other people's comments, before you feel the need to respond, just consider why you're thinking what you're thinking. And then if and when you're ready, please feel free to make a contribution. But equally, if you're more comfortable listening to what other people are saying and prefer not to make a contribution yourself, that is absolutely fine. So what I'm saying is that listening is highly rated in this process compared to speaking. So are there any questions before we start, please? and I won't give you much longer if that sounds like a no. And so the first question that I would like to ask the group is this: how can we create an environment that encourages more kindness?
I'm going to kindly point out Sharon's hand in the air.
Thank you. I think, obviously modeling behavior, but also encouraging a challenge, reminding and encouraging a challenge, do one kind thing a day or whatever. Just an idea.
I'd like to add to that and build on it, and it's Peter here. It came from something Jenny said earlier, which is practicing kindness, which is obviously, I think practicing has, the word has two potential meanings. So a daily practice, and our mission, Alan, you won't be surprised when you hear me say this, is to get children at school to practice kindness together in their classrooms so that they develop it as a habit and it doesn't fade, because they start to get rewarded collectively and individually for that kindness.
I also think we need to be possibly re-clarifying the definition of the word kindness. I think it's more about respect than agreement. And a lot of cultures have flipped those around, that if you don't agree with me, that's not kind, it's not nice. And I think that's a misunderstanding of kindness. It's more about respect than agreement.
I would like to add to that, Alan, as well. That another one of my favorite quotes is, "We don't have to agree on anything to be kind to one another." And, I think creating that environment is a part of that is having an open heart and having an open mind.
Oh, Alan,
Vicky, go ahead. And for other people, don't feel the need to raise your hand. Just speak. And if somebody is speaking at the same time as you, between the two of you, I'm sure you'll be kind enough to work out who's going to go first. Vicky.
I believe it's really important to have a conversation. And I think so much happens online, and it ends up being a one-sided conversation. Often the person that the online group is commenting about isn't even a member of that, for instance, Facebook group. And so I think that if you really feel compelled to challenge somebody online or have a different point of view that you'd like to share, you need to actually reach out to that person and have a real conversation.
I'll offer this, that I think if we reinforce kindness when we see it, we're likely to generate and get more of it. So I think not only our own acts of kindness, but to recognize and call out those acts of kindness of others. That perpetuates a healthy environment.
So for me, it would be just not, random acts of kindness, but also deliberate acts of kindness. Because for a random act, you don't know whether you'd have the opportunity and how often. But when it's deliberate, you can plan and make it a habit and say, today I'm going to reach out to a friend, tomorrow I'm going to go to some other place or send flowers or whatever. So I think now it's like a combination of an intentional act and the random acts that come out now and then.
I think that plays into Alan's point about definition, because in coaching we use the term unconditional positive regard. So having the capacity to be in a space of kindness as well as activate kindness, if you like.
I think Margaret wants to add something.
Well, it's just a matter of miracle how much a little bit of kindness will reverberate to somebody. Oh, I want to do that too. We have just been overcome with the amount of interest in our Be Kind movement. We just tried simple ways to bring it to the attention and of people in our community. And the former police officer got all the football boys together for a pizza supper, and they all learned to figure it, and everybody had so much fun, and there was just so much joy every time we got together to do something that had to do with kindness. And just one person after another was trying to come up with ideas on how we could spread the word. And it just seemed like it went like wildfire. And we didn't have to labor hard to do it, but it kind of kept itself going because it is a very good project.
Thank you.
I think it's an important point there that we talk about all the generational differences and difficulties, and Margaret's a good example of football players in high school, police chief, and a person that's 100 years plus, all coming together with no generational differences. Kindness overcame that.
This is Carol Phipps. Hi, Margaret. You're such an inspiration. I wanted to say that in echo and chorus of what's been said, that statement about separating the person from the words, that takes what y'all are saying. You make it a point, and you make it a practice to be kind, and that makes that possible, to separate the words from the person. And so it's that saying, be kind, I will do it. And it's that resolve, I guess, I'm thinking. And so thank you. Very, very important.
Okay, one more go from Margaret.
I just say that our experience with kindness is all related to positive thinking. I believe the world can be kinder, and I believe the world can be kinder. I believe the world can be kinder. Kind of a mantra that you say every day, and I will do what I can in my little world to spread kindness.
Listening to what people have said so far, it strikes me that our reward and recognition systems and processes in society are not actually very well set up for kindness. So why do you think that is, and how do you think we could do things better?
Hi, I'm just thinking that when you do something just for yourself, it only reflects your values. But when you come together as a community, such as what Margaret's done in Glenwood, and you do things together, it's what's more powerful. So I think if you come from a sense of community rather than a sense of self, and I think that's what makes Margaret's program so successful, is how she's amplified it and made it not an individual effort.
We have thought about this. Sorry, I'm talking over someone. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Margaret and I have thought a lot about this and how do you scale kindness? And that is a particularly tough issue. There are certain behaviors of Homo sapiens that are very hard to scale. And so we've actually thought about that quite rigorously, trying to come up with the basic themes of what they might be. And we have several, not to be shared today, but that I think are probably pretty important for scaling it. But I don't know how certain behaviors are hard to perpetuate in perpetuity, which is why I think this is so great that it's gone on 5 years and it's still going strong. So just alert that when we have researched kindness, they start and then they fall off, and they restart and they fall off, and they restart and they fall off. So the sustainability of this is the challenge that I think we've given some good thought to. Not a solution, but a recognition.
I think to reinforce that, you use the word deliberate. That partly tells me don't just do kindness when something slaps us in the face, but we choose deliberately to do at least something on a regular basis or every day, whatever that schedule might be. But deliberate, I think, is part of it. Phoebe's comment, reward what you see. That they didn't do it, in most cases, kindness for their own self-benefit, but it doesn't hurt to reinforce good that you see. That simply makes it spread further and last longer.
I think as what Vicki was saying about community and less of I or me focus. Alan, your question about how to create an environment for this, I think in a lot of cultures, and I think in the US definitely, there's a lot of focusing on being independent, and I am focusing on on me. And if we can just help people to understand that like kindness and gratitude, both of those values are they bring such a sense of abundance, and where we may be in a scarcity mentality, we need to flip that switch in some way and really bring a focus that it just brings abundance. And so why not?
I'd agree. Scarcity and built-in adversarial practices in organizational life, in government. I mean, the environment is not framed for this. And I'm quite interested, what we're involved in is a curriculum for life for young people. And that sits within the framework of an educational system where you can nurture these practices over time. It would hold the continuity, but also we are dependent on really a movement of movements, and this thing about how we are able to have hyperconnectivity now. So the various movements, whether it's what you're doing, which sounds fantastic, Margaret, and thank you for it, and things like the Action for Happiness here in the UK, I don't see them talking to each other enough. So that movement of movements concept, to realize the power of this collective activity, is a kind act and a complicated one. So to hear what you were saying, I forgot, I don't have the name of the lady with Margaret there, but we've been struggling with this question too. And why can't this scale in the way that the orthodox paradigm stuff scales? So it's an interesting challenge.
I think it might be time for me to recommend a book.
Hey.
Tremendous book. I'll put it in the chat. It's called, oh, by the congratulations, by the way, but it's a transcript of a commencement speech by George Saunders. Tremendous, tremendous speech. Many of you probably have read it. What is his deepest regret? As he tells this graduating class, failure to do acts of kindness. He said, what I regret most in my life are failures of kindness. It wasn't that he was mean, but that he failed to be kind. And he gives an analysis of why that is and a specific action plan about what to do. Highly recommend it. George Saunders, congratulations, by the way. I just get it from your library, read it online. It's very short, very pithy, and very direct about what we can do.
Thank you, Phoebe. And I think that that's a good segue to start to wind the conversation up to a close. It's been fascinating listening to the different comments, and I hope you've enjoyed that. What might have felt a little bit strange, because it's not like a normal conversation, but I hope you found it of use and helpful. And to finish, what I'd like to do is hear from each person here today, thinking ahead to Monday, which is World Kindness Day, and what has today's conversation encouraged you to do in honor of World Kindness Day on Monday? So, Alan, I know you think very quickly on your feet and won't mind going first, and then we'll go to Peter, then Barbara, and then Carissa. Phoebe and Margaret, you pop in anytime you wish. So, Alan, what are you encouraged to do differently as a result of this conversation in honor of World Kindness Day on Monday?
Most of my work's in the corporate world, a lot of executive coaching, speaking at conferences, and it hit me about scaling up that there's an awful lot of talk about mission statements, vision statements, things like that, value statements. And maybe it's time to put the word kindness in some of those documents. I think it's looked at too often or dismissed as soft when we're saying here it has solid results.
And if I can push you, Alan, to a small concrete step towards that you might take between now and Monday, what might that be?
Well, I have some coaching client meetings coming up. I plan on asking each of them what's one thing they can do between this week and next week to show kindness. Fantastic.
Thank you very much. And Peter.
Yeah, so that Alan doesn't catch me out with a practical first step, I'm going to now include it. Kind to give me that indication. I will email 10 friends about Kindness Day approaching on Monday, and I'll do that tomorrow. And then on Monday, I have a busy day, but it's not too busy to select one target, a human target for my kindness, and deliver a planned act of kindness, as Namala called it, on Monday.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much. And Barbara Moore. Barbara, if you'd like to come off mute. Okay, maybe we'll come back to Barbara. Carissa.
Yeah, I think one thing this conversation has made me think about is the difference between being kind and being nice, and especially being kind to people you disagree with or are frustrated with, or yeah, don't maybe want to be kind to. And so I'm going to be thinking about different classmates. I'm in graduate school and in a bunch of group projects where I can be intentionally kind to people who maybe have frustrated me or not done their work, or, in that kind of way, it'd be easy to not be kind to them.
Okay, Carissa, and if I could ask you please to identify at least one of those people that you're going to practice this on, rather than leave it as a kind of generic intention. You'll find that really helpful. So just think, no need to share it with us, but just think about individuals.
Oh, yes, I definitely have an individual in mind.
That's great. And Sharon.
So I posted in the chat, I do have a easy vehicle since I teach to ask the students to do that. So I'll post that in my class as kind of a challenge, for them to do for 7 days. And I'll give them the opportunity, if they like to report back or share that, great. And if they don't, that's fine too. But I'll also ask if they'll encourage two friends that they share that kindness with and ask them to do the same.
Fantastic. So you really get the ripples going there.
Try. Yeah.
And so who we got next? Heading.
Well, the only thing I can do is post something on my Facebook site for the Icelandic public and talk about the World Kindness Day and the importance of being and showing kindness to one another in this day and age.
So the warmth of your post will melt the Iceland ice, Heading.
Yeah, well, it's like there is something else that is melting it, but we are waiting for an earthquake and a volcano, so that's whatever. But my charisma will do it, so I think I will take that.
Thank you, Heading. And Jenny.
Yeah, I've been trying to think about what post I want to do on LinkedIn on World Kindness Day, and I have lots of them fluttering in my head. But as a result of this conversation, I've determined, as we talked about, acts of kindness are not, there's a lot of acts of kindness going around, but we focus more on the negativity. And so those kind acts need to be acknowledged and shared. So I have a wonderful story of kindness that Charles Fowler sent to me. And so I'm going to post about that and encourage others to share stories of kindnesses that they've experienced.
Great, thank you, Jenny. And would you like to share it with us now, or would you rather keep it for your post?
I could find it and share it let me see if I can find it super quick, and I would share it with you if I can find it.
All right, not to worry if you can't. Karen. So Karen Wallen. Okay, we'll move on. Nirmala.
I'm sitting in Mumbai, India, and tomorrow onwards we start the festival of Diwali, which is like the biggest festival in India, festival of lights. And so I'm going to work a little more harder with the tribal communities around who wouldn't be able to afford the festival sweets. So we're planning to go and see that every family, especially the senior citizens there who are really, really in a difficult situation, to see that they get the provisions and a special packet of sweets to celebrate Kindness Day and the festival of Diwali.
Thanks, Nirmala. And Rana.
Yes, Karen Wallem and I are high school classmates of Margaret's dear son, John. And we are, I will speak for both Karen and myself to say that we will be in touch with our classmates over the weekend and ask them to do one act of kindness on Monday as a way of honoring our dear friend John and his wonderful mother, Margaret.
Thank you, Rana.
Yeah.
And Vicky.
Yeah, I will happily tell Margaret that, but not take up our time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get Margaret's video on YouTube. And that's my gift. Now, that's slightly challenging for me, but we're going to get that done. It may not have music, but I think it doesn't matter. Something about the music rights that US Bank has. So that's what I'm going to do. And I will somehow maybe through one of the Allens here, let that be more generally available, because it'll just be in the public domain. And so it's the kind of thing that can be shared. And so Margaret, what will you be doing on World Kindness Day, and what message do you have for this group?
Well, that I talk to God about how I, as an old person, can do something kind. And I say to him, dear God, put in my daily experience today people that I am supposed to encourage. I have wanted my life to be a life of encouragement to people, and it has just been a wonderful life. And I can't put down one or two instances, because it's every day. There are many instances where God gives us a chance to be kind if we just listen. And I want to thank all the people that have enriched my life with their kindness. And I'm just plain full of gratitude. And that's on my wall. I have a big sign, gratitude, because that's what I feel. And that's the result of doing kind things.
Thank you very much, Margaret. And I think that this is a fitting end to this Values Jam about kindness, with one exception, because there's one thing that I think we could do just to finish off. And so I'd like to invite everybody to come off of mute, please. So if everybody could come off of mute. And Phoebe and Margaret, there are 7 words that I'd love us to be able to say together. So would you be able to remind the group of what those words are before we say them together?
Perfect. Okay, so we are going to end with the action words. So
Okay.
you need to remind people first, and then you lead in the cheer.
Okay. Are you going to say it?
No, you're going to remind us of the words first.
The words are be kind. Just try it. I will.
Okay.
Now here we go.
Okay.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Kind.
Just try it.
Just try it.
I will.
Will.
Well,
Bravo, bravo.
Well, that's it's a wrap. Thank you so much, everybody, for what has been a wonderful exploration of kindness in this Values Jam. Thank you all so much for coming along. Margaret, our special guest, the World Kindness Movement, and Jenny and Alan for your words at the beginning to get us into the topic. I trust you've enjoyed it and that you will celebrate World Kindness Day, not only on Monday, but every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Everyone.
Thank
Thank
you, Alan.
you.